There's a new #1 team in Matt Snyder's MLB Power Rankings. Phillies switch places with the Orioles. Dodgers and Braves hold steady at 3 and 4, with the Yankees inching up to the top 5. Diamondbacks and Reds played last week. They represent the biggest risers and fallers this week. Let's bring in our Power Rankings guru, Matt Snyder, and also our MLB insider, Jim Bowden. Again, Matt with his Power Rankings, Jim with any agreements, disagreements, team news, injury updates, the whole shebang in their weekly slot here on a Monday. So, Matt, take me through the Phillies here, putting them at #1, switching places with Baltimore.
Yeah, I thought I was going to have the Dodgers here, but they lost a series of the Padres. So I was like, yeah, I can keep them at 3, keep them ahead of the Braves because the Dodgers swept the Braves last weekend. Phillies, Orioles 1 and 2. I kind of like the Phillies right now. Look, I'd been the last 2 seasons saying, and by no means was I alone, that they were better built for the playoffs in the regular season because they had a top-heavy rotation. That's no longer the case. They're incredibly well built for the regular season now with this rotation because it's not just Nola and Wheeler with a little bit of Ranger Suarez. Suarez is throwing like a Cy Young contender right now, and you've got Spencer Turnbull and Christopher Sanchez throwing very well as well. Taijuan Walker's back off the injured list. They have a 2.70 rotation ERA, second in baseball. They lead the majors in starting pitching innings, nearly 6 innings per start. It's just been unbelievable work from the rotation. They basically have a quality start every single time out. And with a powerful offense that we know is led by Bryce Harper and Kyle Schwarber and JT Realmuto and Trey Turner, who's on the injured list right now, they're getting Alec Bohm breakout. On top of that, they're just going so well right now, 20 and 5 in their last 25.
Yeah, and Tommy, look, I think eventually I'm going to be able to get Matt to put Dodgers #1 on this list. They are #1 in run differential, but I understand it's going to take a few weeks. Orioles were last week, Phillies this week. Maybe next week I can get Matt to put Dodgers on the top of his list. But in the meantime, look, the Phillies have been red hot, and you look at what they've done over the last week, and you understand why. Bryce Harper swinging the bat like the former MVP that he is, right? He's been on base 44% of the time, 2 homers, 8 RBIs. He's been walked 4 times. You got Bryson Stott, who got off to a slow start. Well, he's 7 for his last 16, 6 RBIs, and 3 stolen bases. And finally, Nick Castellanos is hitting. He's got the exact OBP as Harper does over the last week at 444 with a couple of homers and 6 RBIs. And I love that Matt pointed out Ranger Suarez because over his last 6 starts, Tommy, his ERA has been 0.97. Talk about domination. But a couple injuries to keep in mind. On Sunday, Kyle Schwarber did not play because of a sore back. JT Realmuto also sat out because of a knee injury. They're not really concerned about either injury, but certainly worth mentioning.
Okay, thanks for the update, Jim. Again, we're talking about Phillies 1, Orioles 2, Dodgers 3, Braves 4, and Yankees coming in at 5. Let's get to the Twins, which we've talked about on multiple occasions here because they're having a nice 3-week stretch. Now, that 12-game win streak did end. We brought up the rally sausages before, Matt, but what are we talking about? The Twins right now who are in form, as they say.
Well, yeah. If they stay this hot, I might be able to jump them over to the Dodgers and keep the Dodgers at a #1 for another week just to get Jim a little riled up. No, look, 7 and 13 start in your first 20 games, and then your next 20 you go 17 and 3. How about that turnaround? And for a while, it was easy to say we need context behind this streak because they were beating up on the White Sox and the Angels, but then they take 2 of 3 from the Red Sox, 3 or 4 from the Mariners, 2 of 3 from the Blue Jays. If there were MVP voting right now, Ryan Jeffers would be in the mix. 12 doubles, 9 homers, 30 RBIs, a .617 slugging. Are you kidding me? From Ryan Jeffers, you got to give a shout out to the rotation too, with Joe Ryan and Pablo Lopez throwing very well. Bailey Ober, Simeon Woods Richardson as well. Johan Duran was hurt early in the season. He's back at the end of games, closing them down and looking amazing. They are going so well right now.
Yeah, they are, Matt. And the key, of course, is the starting rotation that you mentioned. Because when you got 5 starters that keep you in games every single start, you got a chance to win a lot of games. And that's what they have, right? I mean, you mentioned Pablo Lopez, 4 wins with an ERA under 4. Ryan, same thing, 2 wins, but an ERA at 3.21. Bailey Ober, 4-1, ERA under 4. But the key to me has been the back of the rotation. Simeon Woods Richardson and Chris Paddock. 5-1 combined ERA under 3, but look at the rookie Woods Richardson with that 3.24 ERA. So that has been the key for the Minnesota Twins. And remember, they're doing all of this without their best player, Royce Lewis, who is out with an injury, and he's only played in 1 game. Byron Buxton continues to play hurt. He only has 1 homer, and how about more caught stealing than stolen bases? But it's been fun over the last week. Not just Ryan Jeffers that he mentioned, who's got 3 homers and 7 RBIs this week, but how about Carlos Santana? No, not the band, Tommy, the DH. 3 homers, 8 RBIs, and oh, by the way, hitting .350 this week. It's been a lot of fun watching the Minnesota Twins, and I know that Mary Tyler Moore statue outside the stadium is smiling right now.
Quickly here, just to follow up on this team, and really the division as a whole. Matt, I'll start with you. Is what the Twins doing right now and the stretch that they're in change your mind about whether you think the Guardians, the Royals, or the Twins are going to be the division favorites here?
I had the Twins winning the division coming into the season, and with them only a half game out right now through only a fourth of the season, I don't think that I should change that. So I'll stick with the Twins. I'm intrigued by the Royals. We talked about a few weeks ago, I thought the Guardians were in for a little bit of downturn, and they're going through that downturn right now. So I think I'll go Twins 1, Royals 2, Guardians 3 at this point.
Yeah, I'm going to verbally repost what he said. I got it the same way. I had the Twins winning this division. I was surprised they got off to a slow start. But I'm looking forward to them getting Royce Lewis back and getting healthy. And I think this team is the best team in the division. Guardians will give them a run because they have the pitching, especially an impact bullpen. But I still have the Twins winning like Matt does.
Okay. Sportsline also agreeing with you guys, thinking that the Twins will get to 92 wins and the division when it's all said and done. But again, we're still in May. There's still a lot to talk about. You guys brought up the Padres, who had a nice series against the Dodgers here. So again, we've talked about 1 through 10. Friars are just outside of that, Matt Snyder. But what about the Friars interest you the most this week?
It was a very good week. They went into Wrigley and took 2 of 3 from the Cubs. They won 2 of 3 against the Dodgers coming home. And Luis Arias has really balanced that offense. They had a lot of power-heavy guys, not as much batting average. You put a batting average only guy at the top of that lineup, and he's been great ever since they got him. Manny Machado's still streaky, but mostly bad. Fernando Tatis Jr., there's a little more in the tank there, but you have to sing the praises of Jurickson Profar and Jake Cronenworth on what they've done for this offense. Dylan Cease would probably win the National League Cy Young right now. Darvish has been great. And how about Robert Suarez at the back end of that bullpen? What a great anchor to have at the back end there. After they let Josh Hader walk in the offseason, they haven't missed a beat because Suarez has been unbelievable.
Yeah, he certainly has, Matt. As you mentioned, 12 for 12 in save opportunities. He's been impact. But it's amazing that the Padres have won 7 of their last 10, with Manny Machado going just 1 for 18 and Xander Bogaerts going just 2 for 19 over that time span. But you mentioned the impact that Luis Arias has had. It has been ridiculous. In the 8 games that he's been with the Padres, he's hit .344 and been on base 38% of the time. He has scored 5 runs, and he's created traffic, which creates more fastballs for all the guys that are hitting right behind him. And he gives you that on-base percentage that they miss after they had to trade Juan Soto in the offseason. But the thing that Padres keep telling me about is don't underestimate the impact that catcher Louis Campusano is having on this pitching staff. His ability and his improvement in calling a game and framing pitches. Also in the last week, he's been on at a 38% clip. But there's a reason why Dylan Cease has a 2.1 ERA after 8 starts, and Darvish has a 2.4 ERA after 8 starts, giving them as good a 1-2 punch at the top of rotation there is in baseball. They keep telling me Campusano has a lot to do with it. He has really, really learned how to pitch sequence. So it's been fun to watch this team, and I don't think there's any question they're going to be in the wild card race all year.
It's interesting year to year. 2 seasons ago, the Padres go all in and fall short. This season, with Soto gone, no Blake Snell. They're off to a good start, rising up Matt Snyder's power rankings just outside the top 10. By the way, in that 11 through 20 series there, we saw the Diamondbacks, which we talked about last week. You're welcome, Arizona, for that little bump back into the top 20 here. A team that's not in the top 20 is going to be Oliver Marmol's Cardinals here. And also with the Wilson Contreras injury, it's going to be tough here. But, Matt, take me through the bottom tier of your rankings here.
Yeah, the Cardinals are in a bad way. They're only above the 3 teams that have been the bottom 3 teams pretty much all season, and the Ohtani and Trout list at this point. Angels, look, they've lost 7 of 8, 9 of the last 11. You're starting to see more sparse crowds, even some booing when they lost the series to the White Sox. Goldschmidt's been bad. Now, yesterday he had a good game. Maybe he'll get on track. Arenado not even slugging 400. the Wilson Contreras broken arm is a big, big deal because he was one of the few guys that was actually hitting among the veterans. But even on the young guys, Nolan Gorman's been bad. Jordan Walker was demoted. Lars Nootbaar hasn't been very good. They're last in the National League in runs scored, 14th in average, 15th in slugging. They are in a bad, bad way. And we thought heading into the year, this was a very good offense. It was just a question of if the rotation was going to be much improved. The rotation's been better than many expected it to be, but the offense has just been terrible.
Yeah, I didn't like this team at all in the preseason. I didn't like them last year when they won 71 games. And I couldn't believe that there was a time during spring training where Vegas actually had them winning the division, because besides Sonny Gray, all they did was add age to a team that won 71 games last year. So I didn't get it. So the worst part that's happening for this team is the old players look old, right? Paul Goldschmidt hitting under 200. He's 36 years old. Age and decline is, the algorithm says it's normally here. And I talked to John Mozeliak yesterday, the president of the Cardinals. He didn't seem too worried about Goldschmidt, but I think he needs to open his eyes that he should be concerned. And Nolan Arenado, he's 32 years old. A lot of guys decline at 32. And then, you know, you talk about the bench. Why is Brandon Crawford and Matt Carpenter still on the roster? Crawford, by the way, 3 for 28. And then Matt mentioned the young kids. Nolan Gorman's hitting 187, Nootbaar 102. Dylan Carlson doesn't have a hit yet. He's 0 for 16, and both Walker and Victor Scott have been sent out after hitting 200. And the one thing about the Cardinals, you guys, that really drives me crazy, they've never developed young hitters, right? They had Randy Arozarena. They couldn't develop him, traded him to Tampa Bay where he blossomed. They had Adolis Garcia. They couldn't develop his bat. They lost him on waivers. He ended up winning a World Series in Texas. And now we're talking about Gorman, Nootbaar, Carlson, Walker, Scott, of which none of them have been developed to hit here. This is a farm system that's in the bottom third in baseball. There's not a good pathway to go here. I was surprised they extended Ollie Marmol in spring training and gave him the contract extension after 71 wins last year. I think it's only a matter of time before there's sweeping changes in St. Louis, and I'm not going to be surprised if it starts at the top with John Mozeliak and Michael Gersh, who run the baseball operations, because this team is a total disaster, and I don't see any way during this season it can be corrected.
Jim just gave me an idea.
They haven't had back-to-back losing seasons since the 50s.
Wow. Love that little nugget, too. By the way, in the future, we might do a what-if lineup, and what if, you know, Cardinals team that Jim talked about instead of the one that we have right now, currently at the bottom tier of the Power Rankings, although they do have the Angels, which are right there with them. So Matt Snyder, Jim Bowden, thank you very much. Taking a look at the notable MLB games tonight. Couple of good pitching matchups here. Jose Barrios and Corbin Burns. Toronto at Baltimore is just off of this board. Imanaga and his 5-0 record there for the Cubs. Small underdogs on the road. And they talked about the Dodgers. Rivalry renewed on the West Coast. Yamamoto and Hicks in the City by the Bay.